Welcome everybody back to another episode of Author Spotlight. This is Taj Dashaun, Vice President of Self-Publish in 30 Days. And I'm here today with Miss Tamika Newman. How you doing, Tamika?
I'm great. Happy to be here.
Yes, indeed. I'm happy to have you. We're going to get into the book. We're going to talk about all that great stuff. But first, I'm going to give you a brief introduction. You know how we do it on this show. We dive right in. But just to get it going, Tamika is an assistant volleyball coach at Prairie View A&M, the owner of Grit and Grind Athletics, and the author of Grateful and Greedy, Challenging and Redefining What It Means to Win in Life. I got my copy right here. I had it, and it's autographed. Hold up. If you're watching the video, I got the autograph. I'm doing big things, you know? Man, Tamika, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. I just want to dive into your story before we get into the book and all that. I just want listeners to know a little bit about you. So I know that you were a dual sport athlete in college. Can you just start us off on your journey at that point?
Yes. So somehow I was crazy enough, ambitious enough to set a goal of playing 2 sports in college, right? So in my family, there were no college graduates. A few people played sports. It didn't go very far. Definitely none went to college to play sports. And I thought that I had the bright idea of wanting to play 2 sports in college. So I achieved that goal. I went to Prairie View A&M, set to play both sports. And the first year, it was really, really hard. I thought I was mentally tough, but I proved not to be as much as I thought I was. So it was an adjustment. Even on the academic side, I was a strong student, but the time management it takes to be a dual sport athlete, nobody was preparing me for. So made the adjustment. I had a subpar season in both sports, came back sophomore year, and our head basketball coach retired, and we hired Hall of Fame basketball player Cynthia Cooper, an idol of mine, right? So I live in Houston, the Comets, the 4P, the parades, I've read her book. This is like a dream come true. And she is like coaching, at my college. So go through volleyball, and I had a nagging ankle injury. That injury followed me into basketball, and just really was a hindrance. Got very frustrated, overall tired, just realized that the load was too much. And so that was my last year playing basketball, finished my career on the volleyball team. The very next year we won the conference. And then my senior year, I won Conference Player of the Year. So I guess I made a good choice, finally specializing in something. But yeah. And so I had a dream of being the next Pam Oliver. I wanted to be a sideline reporter. So I didn't get a chance to do a lot of internships. Cynthia Cooper, coincidentally, she got me a internship at a sports radio station here. Did that internship, and they basically ignored me. And I figured it's going to be an uphill battle to get into this industry. I heard the horror stories of, you're going to be broke for the next 5 years, and you got to go live in this town, in this small town. And I went to college because I was poor. I had no intention of getting a degree and returning home poor or taking a job where I'd still be. So wish I would have had someone to really motivate me and just be there and support me and guide me through that process. And I probably would have stuck with my dream of wanting to be a sports reporter. But I gave that up, went to graduate school at Texas Southern in Houston, went to be an assistant for my former athletic director from Prairie View. He took the job, and then I went over with him, was a graduate assistant for basketball, and took on a little side job of coaching at a charter school back in my neighborhood. I took a kid home. The kid's home had no running water and no electricity. And on my way home, I got the bright idea that I was going to be a coach. I was going to go affect change. I was going to go make, create impact, have impact for kids that were less than. So,
Wow.
and then, so graduated from graduate school, got a public school job, my first public school job. And by then I had coached a little travel volleyball and decided I'm going to go the volleyball route. I was a basketball kid. Like I thought I was going to go to the WNBA type basketball kid. But was really, you couldn't get me to mumble the words basketball. It was kind of like, losing your first love when I decided to walk away. It was a very sensitive topic and subject for me. And I had finished so successful in volleyball, I figured let's ride that into a coaching career. So this is the middle of the recession, 2008. There were no jobs. There were literally no jobs. So I took a public school job, and something happened that was not, I hadn't given it any thought, totally blew me away. I realized it was not standard for a Black woman to coach volleyball, especially in suburban areas. And so my having gone to an HBCU, I went to a Black and brown high school, having gone to an HBCU, I was naive to that. I was very naive to that. It had not dawned on me. I knew I had a great career. I knew I played at a small Division I, and I knew that wasn't seen as a big deal. It was a big deal for me and what I came from, but I knew it wasn't a big deal. But all I saw was I was super ambitious, smart, hardworking. I want to coach volleyball. I'm going to coach volleyball.
Right.
And I coached as a junior varsity coach. And I guess the first incident, a coach refused to shake my hand, like three different occasions, right? It was a small town school outside of Houston, predominantly white, definitely known as a place that you would experience racism. And my ambitious self, I decide I'm going to be a head coach. So that year made up my mind, right? They don't shake your hand. I'm crazy.
I love it. It lit a fire in you. I love it.
You know that quote, rejection breeds obsession. So I was like, oh, you don't want me here? I'm gonna go higher. I'm gonna keep going. And that's the story of my life, really. And I'll talk about where that got a little toxic for me with wanting to keep going.
Right.
Yeah, because I got to a point where I had to check myself on that. But went on 7 interviews to be a head coach, mostly suburban areas in greater Houston, where volleyball is a big deal. And the first 3 interviews, the person I interviewed with, which is a football coach or an athletic director, generally an older white male, called me back, gave me great praise, and said, hey, can you come here and be an assistant basketball and track coach?
Wow. This was after you're interviewing for head volleyball.
Absolutely. I have no knowledge.
Right?
I haven't.
Okay,
yes.
I just want to make right.
I haven't asked you about basketball track.
Right. What in the world? Okay.
And so, I'll speed this part up. Go on 4 more interviews. I'm interviewing. I decide I'll entertain a JV interview because at this point I'm fired up. I just keep applying for them. You're gonna have to tell me no. I go on a JV interview.
That's right.
With a middle-aged white lady, and in the middle of the interview, she goes, "Hey, I'm very impressed by you. Our school, the school in our district, they're looking for a volleyball coach. I think that you're a head coach. I'd love to have you as a JV coach. I think you're a head coach." And I get that job. And then I go on to coach 8 years. I go on to be a head coach 8 years. But speaking of the naiveness I got from being sheltered and going to an HBCU, my experience there and the standard that was set there and my teaching there was really why I was able to confidently say no to those first 3 people, right? I had that much faith in who I was and what I could bring that I wasn't willing to compromise. So that's my shout out to HBCUs. I had to do that.
That's right.
So I went on to do it for 8 years, and I won very early, and I love to win, right? Because the circumstances in which I was born in, my mother was on drugs, my grandparents raised me, grew up in a house full of people, not very ambitious, education not big, but somehow I found a way to value all those things and get myself out of there. Um, so I love to win, and I won very early. But in the background, the racial tension, microaggressions, all that stuff kept happening. And I kept coming back, and I worked harder and harder and harder. And it really took me I had my daughter at the 5th year in, and seeing some of really my life really coming to a halt and having to kind of sit down and rest for a little bit allowed me to really see just the value, how much I was being valued, the impact that I was trying to make. Was I doing that, or was it doing more harm to me mentally, physically? So I did it 2 more years. And then a really crazy incident happened, a huge incident where a parent tried to attack me, along with a lot of other things. Kind of had a stressful situation where I forgot to get my kid, arranged for my kid to get from daycare on a game day, and decided that um, when I went back to my original goal, what I originally thought God was trying to tell me I needed to do with my life, He wanted me to work with lower income. And because I was winning, it kept affording me great jobs in affluent areas. And that was never my intention. Somebody's got to go coach there. It was never my intention. It wasn't my passion. I wanted to go be a beacon of light for kids who were growing up in low resource situations like myself. So I kind of had really went against what I got in the business to do because I was chasing winning. And so that'll take you to the title of my book. When we talk about redefining winning, I was literally chasing wins on the court, but winning in life in general based on where I came from, which I was supposed to lose, right? So, yeah.
Tamika, I just want to touch on something that you said earlier, because it's amazing how it all came full circle. Because at the beginning, I love how you spoke about you got into coaching because you went home with those student athletes that day. You saw they didn't have running water and all that. And you looked at it as, okay, I want to get into coaching so I can help them. And then that's where the shift happened, where it was, like you said, you were so caught up on winning and proving that you could do it and not accepting the basketball or the track roles. But no, I'm going to be a volleyball head coach, that you found yourself off course from where you initially started because you were out. It was about you. Not that you still weren't having impact, like you said,
Yes.
but I think that that's an important lesson that people can learn through your story and through your book, is that sometimes we get off course. I think a lot of people these days who go into entrepreneurship or start different ventures, including myself at the very beginning, I started out because I wanted to help a certain group of people. And then at a certain point, it became selfish. And then I had to reset and come back home. Remember, this is why you're doing this. This is who you're wanting to help. So, okay, I'm tuned in. I got my popcorn ready. I want to hear the rest of the story. What happened after you had this epiphany? What happens next?
So I decide that I'm getting out. I know I want to still work in the sports industry, sports business, but not this way. And so I don't apply for any teaching jobs. I start my own business, Green Grind Athletics, and I make a hard, fast rule. I'm working with low income folks. I'm working in school districts and at schools with low resources. I'm going to give them high quality training at 60% less than everybody else, right? Business, my business friends are like, no. I'm like, no, maybe I'll increase one day, but no, I'm giving them quality instruction because at this point, I have been coaching like 10 years year round. I did my high school season, I did club, I'd spend all summer doing college camps. I spend my breaks doing college clinics. At 10 years, you start feeling, you don't feel like you a professional coach till 10 years. So, it was like, the universe was telling me it was time to hang it up. No, I just got the hang of this. I know I've got this down to a science. What do I do with this information? Right. So I did my business. We do skills and leadership training for coaches and players. And so the first thing I took on was team camps. I would go prepare high school teams for their season, doing a 2 or 3 hour camp. And so that took off. But I have a daughter, right? I'm a single parent. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna make enough money to supplement my income. And my friend calls me, and she's the head coach at Prairie View. She was my teammate when I was there. We won the championship together. I had been sending kids there, right? So, there was a connection. And I came over to be her assistant. Her assistant went to high school. And so I left high school, came back there, and my business started putting on clinics and things like that. And it's picked up during COVID, and then it got all crazy because COVID got here. So I went back to my alma mater, and we had an amazing year. We played the championship game. I think they finished 7th year before. We ended up finished 2nd. It was magical. So we kind of brought back that championship and winning legacy to the program. And it's been great. So that's where I'm at now. Yeah, back where I started.
That's awesome. That's right.
Yeah.
Back on the mission, back on the original grind.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And I want to talk about the book in a second, but just to take a step back and talk about grit and grind athletics.
Okay.
Now, why is it important for you that you're doing the educating, not just for the players, but for the coaches as well? Can you explain why that's important?
So when we think of the low resource areas, we're talking about Black and brown areas, which typically are coached by Black and brown coaches. And coaches are getting out of it for various reasons, right? Not being supported, it's stressful, it's time consuming. And I get all of those because I got out of it. But we're also in danger of there being none. And if there's none, then a Black and brown girl can't see what she could become. And then she has no representation. So I'm super passionate about educating them, giving them the resources, everything, so they stay in it. And so they give the athletes, so athletes stay in it. We retain athletes, we retain coaches. So that's why I add in the coaches piece. And I'm getting more and more passionate about really just working with the coaches moving forward, because the coach can affect hundreds of athletes. Right. Mm-hmm. So I think it's beneficial to start with the coaches. And coaches don't get quality, don't have access to quality resources, sometimes because of money, sometimes because lack of vulnerability. They don't reach out for help. They don't reach out for help. They don't want help. So they kind of suffer in silence. And I was in a white space, all white space. I never asked for help because they were my competitors. And I knew based on my entry into the business, they didn't think I should be there. So although I was able to find my own mentors, build my own network, and just kind of do my own professional development because I was driven to succeed, everybody doesn't have that same drive. And if I had a mentor, if I had a tribe of volleyball coaches, female minority volleyball coaches, or coaches, period, I probably wouldn't have bumped my head so much. Or maybe I'm not out of it. If I had better mentors and more resources specific to my experience, maybe I'm still coaching. Maybe I'm not, but for sure, I think they need that. And the professional development that's out is very cookie cutter, very, very cookie cutter. So you can sit in a coach's clinic for 2 days and none of what they presented can you use at your school because of your lack of resources, your the type of kids you get, your support, your buy-in. So I'm super passionate about putting together programs that are not a waste of time. They feel seen. They know that their personal development was taken into consideration when this program was created.
I think that's so key, Tamika, and not just the fact that it's personal development. You're not just putting on coaches' clinics. Like you said, it's about tribe. That's that word right there, tribe. It's about
Community,
not
yeah.
have, yes, community, so the coaches don't have to suffer alone. Like you said, everyone can lean on one another. They can lean on you. And I think the fact that you're encouraging that speaks volumes. Because like you said, anybody can do a coach's clinic. Anybody get encouraged personal development, but it's
Mhm.
totally different when you know you can lean on other people who are in your shoes or who have been in your shoes and get guidance and support and community that way. So, man, just props to what you're doing. I think it's a beautiful situation, and the message and the vision behind it is beautiful too. And now, we got to talk about the book. Let's get into it, okay? Because you're already doing great work. Now, why write a book? Let's just start there. Why write? Why did you feel it was important for you to share your story in the format of a book?
The timing of it, I started writing the book in March. So I got out of high school coaching June 2019. Decided to go over to Prairie View August 2019. My grandmother passed last December of a heart attack suddenly. And so I told you she raised me. She was like a mother to me. So it was devastating. It was devastating. And after her funeral, so she died in December, COVID happened, and now I'm at home. Prairie View has sent us home. My club program that I was traveling with have sent us home like, hey, we can't do it. This is the most still I've been in my life. And I had a moment to reflect on everything that had transpired up to now. And me and my brothers joke, we break our life up into BC, which is before Connie. My grandmother's name is Connie, and AC after Connie. So after her funeral, I was motivated to really sit down and assess my life and decide what direction what did I wanted the next phase of my life to look like. And I thought in order to do that, I needed to reconcile my thoughts about what I thought about my life. And I talk about this in the end. Did I think it was great? Did I think I was prepared? Did I have any shoulda, coulda, wouldas? And then what lessons did I learn? I think my journey, my experience dealing with the racism with coaching volleyball, I think it's a unique story that needed to be told, but I knew that I didn't want my suffering to be for naught. So I was like, how can I help somebody else with talking about this experience? So it was a culmination of all of that. I started thinking about legacy, that winning would define my legacy for coaching. Right. And I grew a little concerned about that winning would decide it, and other people who had no business deciding what my legacy was might be deciding what my legacy was. So I decided I wanted to write it down. I wanted to write it down. So that was my way of going back down memory lane, writing the book, then putting making my story real, because for a while I was like, is this me? I don't think this is really like there's gotta be, am I imagining this? Especially when it got really bad and I had to like get a protective order against a parent. And like, am I making this up? God, there's no way. I thought you told me you wanted me to do coaching, and this is what's happening. So it was a way for me to leave my own legacy on paper, because I told you I have a daughter. So leave my legacy on paper, motivate the next generation of coaches, of people, period. Yeah, so that was the first time that I had a moment to reflect. And I thought I better make good use of this, and it's got to be something impactful. And I got into coaching to be impactful. So I may have impacted a couple of hundred kids, but a book can impact millions, right? So
That's right. That's right. And the book is forever too. That's the
oh
great part
yeah.
about it. Like you said, you're already in the record books for all the wins and everything. And that's great. I'm sure you set records at all the different institutions you were coaching at, but this book is, and I'm sure this is the first thing. I'm sure you're gonna be writing more than one book down the line.
Yeah. I
And
got
you
the
talked
rights.
about impact. What is it?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's right. That's right. No, it's just a little bit of a delay on my end. That's my bad. But
Okay.
I was going to ask you about what did you want the impact of, like when someone picks up this book, right? Obviously, they have a lot to learn through your story. You know, as you're sharing stuff, I see myself in your story, even going, like we talked about, going back to where you started versus focusing on yourself. When someone reads your book, what do you want them to be able to take away from it?
That you don't have to accept standards set for you by other people. That you can always go back and challenge, that you should go back and challenge your belief system, where you got this idea about success, where you got this idea about what a great marriage, where you got the idea about what being a great parent is like. And just going back and challenging, are those thoughts your own? You, the person you are today, do you agree with them? And if you don't, then redefine that for yourself. And I think everybody, any age, any race, any demographic, owes it to themselves to do that, because we don't even, when we get some of these ideas in our head about what it means to do those things well or to be successful, we don't even know who we are fully yet, right? I'm just learning some stuff about myself. So some of my old beliefs I can't take those with me, because I know more about myself now. It makes no sense not to redefine those things for myself, because I know more. So I think it's a super duper important for growth as a person, as a professional. So that's what I hope. I hope it's thought provoking. I hope Grateful and Greedy is super thought provoking, because traditionally we don't believe the two go hand in hand. So my definition of grateful is being thankful what you have and where you are, but demanding what you deserve. Demanding what you deserve. So sometimes people have put a cap on what, so I was born into this situation, and if I get here, then that's good. That's accomplished. But they've kind of put a ceiling, lowered the ceiling on how far I can go. But you deserve so much more. So, and I really learned, I say reading taught me to be greedy, right? Because I was grateful. I could look around me and see my stuff was bad, but it was a lot better than some of my friends in the neighborhood. So I knew to be grateful. But when I read books, storytelling made me greedy. I was like, oh man, this is what's possible? No, I deserve all the things, all these things. And so I was like that as a kid. And I got so caught up trying to be better once I got into coaching, trying to be better than my peers and working harder and all that, that what I was aspiring to was just a really low anyway. I should have been aspiring to more, but I'm so focused on being better than them. They weren't doing very much. Once I got there and saw it, oh man, you don't even have a work ethic. Oh man, these thoughts aren't your own. You just have good kids. You're not even as knowledgeable as I thought you were. I was really shooting low trying to be better than you. Should have been shooting way higher.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing all that, Tamika, because I think that, like I said, a lot of people listening will be able to hear your story and find inspiration in their own story. And I think that, the book is phenomenal. The message is phenomenal. I know everybody's going to want to go research you and look you up. So please tell people where they can get the book, how they can get in contact with you, all that good stuff, please.
Okay. So the book is at tamikanewman.com. That's where you can get autographed copies, and then it's on Amazon. You can follow me on Instagram at tamika.r.newman_GGA. At Twitter, at Coach No Excuses. And then Grit and Grind Athletics does have a Facebook page, and Tamika R. Newman has a Facebook page as well. So I'm on all of those platforms.
I love it. I love it. We will have all those notes, all the information in the show notes. And Tamika, you also have a very exciting announcement, something coming out on December 1st, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. Through the consulting arm of my business, Grit and Grind Athletics, we are hosting a training. I'm sorry, not hosting a training. We are starting and launching a coaching program for female minority coaches. It doesn't matter what sport you coach. And that's a 10-week program that includes coursework. All right, so it's 10 weeks. It includes coursework, virtual meetings, networking with athletic directors all over the country at every level you can think of. It's going to be great, super impactful. It is definitely unique, designed to be unique to the female athletic coaches experience. And so I'm super excited about that. You can direct message me on any of those platforms. You can even go to my website, tamikanewman.com, and send me an email through there. But we are starting December 1st. It's going to be a great opportunity. It's going to be worth the investment. So if you're interested or you know someone, please give them my information.
That's right. Everybody get in touch with Tamika. Follow Tamika so you can be ready. You know, stay ready so you don't got to get ready. So that way when December 1st rolls around, you'll be tuned in. You'll know where to sign up, where to get in touch. The great part about it too is that even though it's virtual and it's an online coaching program, I already know you're going to incorporate the community aspect of it to make sure that people still have community. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's huge. But yes, everyone, please get in touch with Tamika. Tamika, I just want to thank you for coming on to Author Spotlight and sharing your story. I'm excited to, I'm gonna have to get through the rest of the book. I was trying to get it done before we jumped on here, but this ain't no thin book, folks. This is not a pamphlet. This is a real serious book. So sorry, I got somebody was knocking on the door. Anyway, they must be trying to get the book. Hey, stay away. This is my copy. What's wrong with you? You got to get your own, brother. What's going on, God? Anyway, Tamika, thank you for coming on. You have a good one. And we'll stay in touch. I'm sure we're gonna be in touch for a lot more things. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, have a good one.